Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 113. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have James Nowlin, the CEO and the founder of executive consultation firm. His book, The Purposeful Millionaire, is the best-selling guidebook of 52 rules that teaches people about mastering the millionaire mindset and getting the most out of the life, doing more, living more, and achieving more. Hello, James.
Hello, Patience, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business? Take us right up to the last job or business before you are online.
Absolutely, Patience. Well, I'll just say, long story short, it was a very circuitous journey to actually becoming the CEO and founder of my own executive consulting firm. Before founding Excel Global Partners, I had actually gone to undergrad at the University of Virginia, and then I went to medical school for a year because I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I went to law school and got my law degree and practiced law very shortly as a corporate attorney. So eventually, I left the practice of law to found executive consulting from Excel Global Partners. And our area of specialty is corporate strategy, number one, and number two is financial systems, including enterprise performance management, and really working directly with CFOs and members of the C-suite to improve financial and operational functionality of companies. So we are the guys who go in and fix businesses, and that's what Excel Global Partners does. We have been in business for 10 years now. We've completed engagements in more than 20 states across the United States and in more than 15 countries worldwide. So we are winning, Patience. We are growing that company, and I am enjoying every second of being CEO of a very successful firm.
Wow, what a great journey, James. Okay, what is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have?
The most dangerous thing, I think a lack of strategy. You see a lot of people who come up with ideas and put plans in place to grow their companies, but it's really about taking a step back and being strategic with your company and not throwing things against the wall to see if they stick. That works sometimes, but eventually from a sustainability perspective, you've got to come up with a plan that is tried, true, and tested and just keep chipping away at it every single day. I consider, my business, my goals in life, just a giant ice sculpture, and I'm just chipping away at it every single day. And eventually I'll have that beautiful, beautiful sculpture. And over the years, I've been doing that. I haven't given up on my plan. I've continued to chip away every single day, even when the times have gotten tough. And I remember, when things start to get tough, I remember just the acronym GRIT, get ready, it's tough. And I've got that approach to everything that I do. And it's all about sticking to something, not retreating, not going home, not going back to square one and saying, I'm going to put a new idea in place or a new plan in place, but really just plowing through and moving forward and never giving up on your dreams.
Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? I do it because it has worked for me in terms of achieving success. Now, in my book, Patience, The Purposeful Millionaire, I've got a formula called the Success Formula. And here's what it is. It's a three-part formula that actually gets you to success. It is idea plus plan plus execution equals success. Now, if we think about anything professionally or personally in our lives, that formula has to be in place for us to achieve any success. We've got to have an idea. We've got to work our way up to a plan. Once we have the plan in place, we've got to execute upon that plan and execute every single day until you actually get to success. Now, I go into further detail in the book, and I'll explain a little bit more about the success formula now. And that is, in terms of our time allocation, Patience, we should be spending very little time on, the idea. Everybody has ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. If I had the time and resources to actually implement every single idea that I had, I'd be a multi-billionaire. However, that's not the case. I give about 1% of my time to coming up with the idea. I give about another 9% of my time working on the plan, working on the list of pros and cons, working on, hashing out foreseeable challenges. And then I move immediately into the execution phase, which our mind people should really take up about 90% of your time. Get stuck in the execution phase, because in the execution phase, you learn about what needs to be tweaked within your plan, what needs to be adjusted, how to realign your vision for the future so that your idea actually works. But if you get stuck in the idea phase or the plan phase without actually executing, you'll never get to success. And each of us has colleagues, friends, business associates, people who sit down at the dinner table with us, and they're the ideas guys. Nobody really respects the ideas guys. People respect the guy who is executing, achieving, and who has actually achieved something in his business, in his life, or whatever journey that he is on. It's all about getting to success. And without execution, you won't have success.
Let's put man aside, because you have been in business for 10 years now. How did you know you were successful?
I knew I was successful when clients kept coming back to me and they said, wow, you did a really good job on this, and we've got some more work for you. And eventually, because of the client's happiness with our performance as an executive consulting firm and giving us more assignments, that reaffirmed to me that we were doing something right. Now, here's what I've done with my business, and this is what I encourage other people to do with theirs. Find a way to differentiate yourself in your business. It's not always about competing. It's about being unique and giving the world a truly different offering than a lot of the competition is offering out there. How do we do that at Excel Global Partners? Number one, we are not only the ideas guys and the strategy guys, but we'll actually go into a corporation or an organization and we can implement it as well. So we roll up our sleeves and we get the work done, but we also treat people in such a way that we are a boutique firm. You get access to the CEO, you get access to the members in the C-suite of our organization, and there are a lot of gigantic consulting firms. You've got the Deloittes of the world, and the Accentures, and the McKinseys, and the Bains, and the BCGs, and those guys. And it's not, as touchy-feely or, as happy of a situation when these consultants come into these corporations. It's like, oh gosh, here come the consultants. Well, here's our differentiator, patience, is that we get to know the client, and the client actually knows us, and we take the time to develop a friendship and a relationship in such a way where even though we're coming in and we're working to improve a business, we listen to the client and we become friends and we connect and we really try to excavate what the real issues are that are holding that company back. And we care because $1 million contract opportunity for us is a really, really huge deal. It might not be that big of a deal for, your Accentures or your Deloittes of the world, but it's a really big deal for Excel Global Partners, and we treat it as such. And clients see that about us, and they give us more work, and they like us, and there's a greater appreciation going on. And that's been the real joy of my role as CEO growing this company, really connecting with the clients and really, caring about them and the future of their businesses.
Wow. I saw your bio, how you started, how you came from violence side to all the way to now being successful. Can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
Well, you've got to, people say that some entrepreneurs are born, some people can be made entrepreneurs. For me, patience, I really wouldn't have it any other way. It is the most stressful thing that you can ever imagine. I think it's more stressful than marriage. I think it's more stressful than a lot of things that you can do in this world. Growing a successful company adds a lot of stress into your life. For example, I'm on vacation right now, and I get to spend the next few weeks in Hawaii. However, I have to work every single day, and I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working until noon, and then hopefully I'm on the beach by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's something that you can never turn off. Now, here's one thing that I know. If you dream big, you'll achieve big dreams. If you dream small, you'll also achieve small dreams. So why not go after those really, really big dreams? And for me, not only do I dream big, but I get the blessings of not just the financial rewards of being a business owner, but the blessings of being able to manage my own time to some degree and to have another level of freedom in my life that many people never get to receive. When they're working for the man, for lack of other words. So I do have those blessings that come in return, even though the work is really, really hard. Now, can anybody be a business owner? I would say, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. However, can anybody be a successful business owner that builds their company to capacity and multiplies the revenue of their firm and continues to grow it, grow it, grow it? I would say the answer to that is no. And that is, you've got some people who can actually get the idea started and they love kind of the startup phase. And you've got other people who really know how to grow an enterprise and scale its internal infrastructure to get it to the next level and beyond and beyond and beyond. That takes a whole different mindset. But overall, people can achieve their dreams. Just realize that it's a lot harder than they ever imagined. Entrepreneurs are not necessarily folks who are born, but entrepreneurs have a natural level of stick-to-itiveness, especially those that build their company to scale.
I was just wondering if your background matters.
It does. My background is one in which I grew up in the rural foothills of Virginia, and I did not see a lot of people in the world who actually looked like me, who were millionaires and achieving very high levels of success, being a country boy from Virginia. So I actually watched the Cosby Show and saw the Huxtables on TV and went to medical school and went to law school and tried to figure things out from that perspective. But then I realized, you know what, even though I didn't have certain role models when I was growing up in terms of financial success or other success, I could craft my own journey. And by looking at what I wanted to achieve in life and taking a step aside, saying my dream does not have to look like everybody else's, then I began to achieve. Now, I had a thirst for achievement because of the circumstances in which I grew up. You know, it made me want more out of life. It made me hungry for doing more, achieving more, connecting more with others, seeing the world, and tapping into my highest, greatest potential. So yes, it had a lot to do with who I am today. And I tell people again and again and again, here's the thing, just keep dreaming, keep doing. And sometimes you've got to change your environment in order to pursue your dream. I actually changed my environment. I left the rural foothills of Southern Virginia. I left for the big city, and I've been in the big city ever since. But I knew that had I stayed home, I would not have been able to achieve my dreams because my environment would have limited me. So one of the rules in my book is to actually assess your environment. If your environment places limitations on who you are and what you can become, then find somewhere else to be, because there's a lot of places to live in this world. There are a lot of networks and there are a lot of people that you can connect with. Put yourself in an environment that will allow you to achieve your highest dreams, to become everything that you imagine that you could become, because there's nothing like, being an eagle among chickens. If you're an eagle, you need to be flying with eagles. You don't need to be hanging out with chickens all day long.
Thank you. What reassurance or encouragement have you got for my members of clan who are not quite there yet, who are really worried, thinking, oh, maybe I have to first save a lot of money in order to start, or maybe I have to find this perfect mentor, or what advice do you give to those ones?
My advice is to take the first step. And that's the biggest thing. Sometimes patience is actually taking the first step, because we've got so many doubts in our minds, so many fears, so many things that are going on subconsciously that actually limit us from actually achieving our dreams. But take the first step. And in the words of Dr. King, it's we might not be able to see the entire staircase, but take the first step, because the second step sometimes gets a little easier, and then the third gets a little easier. And then before you know it, you've climbed an entire staircase, and then you're moving up to the second floor, and then to the third floor, and to the fourth floor. But you've got to take that first step. Don't worry about whether you are receiving support from friends or family or encouragement. This is your life, and you only get one life to achieve your dreams. Family can hold you back. Colleagues, coworkers, friends, all those folks can have doubts about who you are and what you can become, but don't listen to that. Take the first step. Know that you can do it. Because once you achieve that first step, you get a little bit more confidence. And then you take the second step and you look back and say, wow, I'm 2 steps up now and I'm getting more confidence. So courage and confidence are actually muscles that I believe are built within a person with the more that person achieves in life. So the higher you get, the easier it is to step out in courage, to step out in faith, and to actually do big things. But you've got to take that first step. And as you climb and climb and climb, your courage muscle gets stronger, it gets bigger, where you're chasing bigger ideas and bigger dreams and implementing upon bigger plans and executing at a level that you never imagined. But where did it begin? It began by taking that first step. And that's what you've got to do.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success so far?
One thing that has contributed to my success so far is really taking the time out to focus on James. And I know that if I don't put myself first, patients, even though this might sound very selfish, I can't do any good in this world. Because when James is not in a good state of mind, then I can't contribute my best. I can't give my highest, best self to the world. I can't give my ideas. I can't give my creative self. I can't give my patient, kind self to the world. But if I focus every single day on breathing, on doing yoga, on exercising, on getting all the garbage out of my mind that might be holding me back, and focusing on planting seeds for beautiful trees and flowers to grow in my mind, then that's when I can give my best to the world. And as I do that, the universe responds to me. So I become a partner with the universe. I'm working with the universe, and the universe is responding with me. And we're in a partnership to elevate, to give the best that James can give to this world. And in turn, as I give it, I get. And that's what it's all about. It's about this journey of self-mastery. And I break it down into 52 rules for creating a life of wealth and happiness right now in my book, because the journey hasn't been easy, patients. And back in August 25th, 2012, I was actually in a near-death drowning accident, which was a real wake-up call for me. And this year, on August 25th, 2017, this will be my 5-year anniversary of my drowning accident. But with that, I got a wake-up call that you get one life to live, and you better work on yourself and put yourself first so that you can be a better husband, a better wife, so that you can be a better community member, so that you can be a better business leader. And then the world responds to you. But you first got to take care of yourself.
Wow. I'm very sorry. What happened to the accident? Sorry, just briefly.
So it was a kayaking accident where a buddy of mine and I, we went out onto a giant lake in East Texas, and a storm came upon us. And we were kayaking, and we did not bring life jackets. And so we were about a mile from shore, and the weather changed quite horribly. And I actually drowned. So my buddy swam to shore, and search and rescue efforts led by him actually found my body in the water. So I was rescued after having drowned. And I'm one of the few people who gets to say, I actually drowned, and my body was found in a very large lake, and it was like finding a needle in a haystack. There was a recovery period that took place, and because my brain had been deprived of oxygen for some time, there was some work that I needed to do on myself and getting my memory back to where it should be, and that took some time. But what happened, patients, is that I don't look at this as something that happened to me. It happened for me. Before my accident, I was living life in terms of happiness on a scale of 1 to 10, somewhere between a 5 and an 8. Now, after my accident, after reassessing my life, after looking in the mirror and figuring out, okay, these are the kinds of people that I want in my life, these are the kinds of clients that I want in my life, this is what I want my relationships to look like, all those things, I am on a scale of 1 to 10, between an 8 and a 10 every single day, because I'm doing the work now on James, and I've made some critical decisions about how I want to live my life. So I'm very grateful for the privilege of having experienced a transition like that, patients, where I could be called back to this earth to re-examine my life, to reflect upon some of the mistakes that I was making, some of the good things that I was doing well, and to really put together a life and some decisions so that I could be really living my highest life to be my best self. And so I do that. I share the message of this purposeful living on stage. I'm delivering keynote speeches, speaking to corporations and organizations about how to live a powerful, purposeful life, because most people just exist, patients. And there's so much more that we're called to do on this earth. And it wasn't until I found my purpose that I realized, wow, I can be everything that I ever wanted to be. And also I can surround myself with amazing people who can help take me to the next level and beyond. And I can do the same thing for them.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Okay. In all these 10 years, did you ever have a coach or a mentor?
A coach or a mentor?
Yes.
I've had mentors throughout my professional life. Also, I had mentors in college and people who I stay in contact with to this day. One is Dr. Robert S. Brown, who I served as his teaching assistant for a mental health class at the University of Virginia. And I was in charge of about 20 other teaching assistants and became very close to Dr. Robert S. Brown. He taught me how to look at my life in terms of it as a reflection of my mental health. He taught me the importance of moving and exercising to have the capacity to really create within my mind everything that I could be, and to really understand how the brain works. Those billions of neurons up there that are just waiting for nourishment and care and love from an individual, and the desire to get some of the weeds and the negative thoughts out there. So he was one of my great mentors. Also in business, I have not had a long-term coach, but what I've had is mentors along the way, people who I reach out to and say, hey, how'd you do this or how'd you do that? And I've got a group of people who I call on. We meet each other for lunch. We talk about where we are in our careers and our professional lives, and we also call each other out on our accountability. For example, I have what's called accountability partners, and I encourage our listeners out there to have accountability partners in their lives who can call their bluffs if they don't achieve what they say they're going to achieve. For example, on a quarterly basis, I'll meet with one of my accountability partners at lunch, and we'll write down exactly where we want to be in the next quarter. And we'll write down 3 to 5 very specific things that we are working on that we want to be held accountable for. And it is my obligation to report back to my accountability partner if I have achieved those tasks, those goals that I said I was going to achieve. And these are people who I know. These are people who are high achievers. These are people who are going to hold my hand to the fire if I don't do what I said I was going to do. And I do the same thing for them. So we need accountability partners in our personal lives, in our professional lives, because our goals and our dreams should not be a secret. And when we tell people about our goals, our dreams, our visions, what we're working on achieving, that elevates the conversation and the little voice inside our heads that tell us, you've got to get this done because you told Bob or Susie or Patience or whomever that you were going to get it done. If we keep our goals a secret, then who do we have to hold ourselves accountable? We just have ourselves to hold accountable. So when I'm going out and I want to achieve something big and I'm putting that pen to paper and I'm executing upon it, I share that dream with as many people as possible who I know have my back and who will encourage me and who will also call me out if I don't achieve that. And that's been one of my secret weapons. And I encourage other folks to do the same.
Thank you. Let's talk about your book. How can we use your book to get really all the juices out, and how can we use it to help us? And anyway, why this book now? You've been in business for 10 years.
I've been in business for 10 years. And the thing about my book is that I did not write the book to become successful, Patience. A lot of people write a book and they try to become successful. My book has become a bestseller and I'm very blessed because of that. But I was successful before I wrote the book. And I wrote the book based upon experience, based upon some of the challenges that I have overcome, and based upon the fact that I don't want other people to have a near-death experience to receive their awakening or to have a traumatic disruption in their lives in order to understand what they can fully become in this world. Now, the book's focus is on creating a life of happiness as well as financial abundance that comes because you're doing the work on yourself. It's got 52 rules by which I live on a daily basis. Now, you can read the book and apply one rule for each week of the year, or people can sign up for what's called my Millionaire Monday emails. They can go to my website at jamesnowlin.com. That's JamesNowlin.com. Sign up for Millionaire Mondays to stay encouraged on their pathway to success of achieving that life of happiness and financial abundance. The book is, for me, my Bible. It's something that I read and reread over and over again because I don't feel like I wrote the book. I feel like the universe and God wrote the book, and I've actually been blessed to just be the messenger. And I want to share with other people exactly what they can do, the things that they can apply in their lives, the practices, the rituals, the habits to achieve a life of great success. So that's what the book means to me, Patience. And it is my blessing to share the book with other people. It's a very easy read. You can probably knock it out over a weekend or on a 4-hour plane ride. And you don't have to put all 52 rules into practice immediately. Start with 1 rule or 2 rules or 3 rules and put those rules into play and then work on the other rules. But just do it. And like I said earlier, take that first step. And it's available at jamesonamazon.com. That's jamesonamazon.com.
Okay, you said 52 rules. Do you mind telling us 3 rules? Because you said you live them by every day. So if we can start on 3 rules, so we are halfway there because we need to start.
Well, I've got some of my favorite rules in the book, and I'll start with a couple of my favorites. That's rule number 4: replace negative thoughts with radically positive affirmations. That rule of replacing negative thoughts with radically positive affirmations gives our subconscious the food that it needs, so that we're acting upon our really, really positive thoughts in this life and achieving higher dreams. For example, I talked about earlier how we have so many weeds and negative thoughts in our mind. 80% of our thoughts for the average person are negative, patients. It's, I'm not skinny enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not this, that enough. I'm not good enough. And what that all boils down to is a subconscious of self-doubt. So one of the things that I do with rule number 4, replace the negative thoughts with radically positive affirmations, is I'll repeat to myself throughout the day this incantation. I am, I can, and I will. I'll repeat that again. I am, I can, and I will. If I feel negative thoughts coming into my brain, I just repeat within my mind to myself, I am, I can, I will. Or I'll repeat something to myself like, I love you, I love you, I love you. If any of those doubts, any of those self-limiting thoughts creep into my mind, and before I know it, my whole disposition is changing because I'm doing the work to replace the negative thoughts with radically positive affirmations. This is stuff that works. So next time you sense, I'm feeling really down right now, or I'm feeling like I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or good looking enough, or rich enough, or I can't do this, or I'm not smart enough, replace those thoughts with affirmations that work for you. I'll share another rule. It's number 23. For anything to be manifested in reality, it must first manifest itself in the mind. Now, we talked about the success formula earlier of idea plus plan plus execution equals success. Patience, everything that begins in this world that ever occurs starts in somebody's mind, whether it is war or whether it is peace, whether it is an idea for $1 billion company, or whether it is the idea to say something discriminatory about somebody else or to be violent to another person. All that stuff begins in one's mind. We have to understand the power of our minds and the ability to train and coach our minds for achieving a life of greatness, which includes happiness and financial abundance. Once we realize that the mind is the most powerful thing in our toolbox, that's when we can begin achieving that life of great success. Now I'm going to flip to rule number 48. That is, work on yourself as much as you work on your job. I talked earlier about how people don't take the time out to work on themselves. Now, patients in the United States, the average American watches 5.6 hours of television every single day. The average American works about 8 hours every single day. Most of us are not working 80 hours a week. We work between 40 and 60 hours a week. We sleep about 8 hours a night. There's a lot of time left over. So when I hear somebody tell me, well, James, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time to do yoga, or I don't have time to work on these incantations or these breathing exercises that you talk about, well, the answer is yes, you do. You're not prioritizing it. So again, rule number 48 is you've got to work on yourself as much as you work on your job. And even while you're at your job, you can be working on yourself. If somebody comes up to you and says something that you don't agree with, or somebody throws you off during the day, or you receive an email that's, not as polite as it should be, work on yourself by breathing, by saying, I'm going to take the high road in responding to this email. Or I'm going to elevate this communication with this person by taking a road that's so high that that person's going to respond with an elevated response. So we can be working on ourselves all day long, whether we're stuck in traffic or waiting for the train or waiting in a line or responding to a person who we feel like is making a negative deposit in our lives. We can do the work on ourselves so that we stay in a much more positive place. We need to understand that self-mastery is work on the brain. And the more we work on that, we elevate our consciousness to become happier people, more abundant people. And in turn, the universe responds and blesses one with more and more and more.
Wow. This is powerful. Okay, I know I love the book. I'm going to read it. But then, when you started writing this, who did you have in mind? Do you have in mind someone who's like patients down in England, just doing nothing, just watching TV every day, or somebody who's in Australia in a business? Who did you write it for?
The book is for anybody who wants to do more, live more, and achieve more. And a lot of my audience are business owners, entrepreneurs, and people of that nature. But really, it's for anybody who is a dreamer, who wants more out of life, and who is willing to do the work. Now, patience, I'll tell you, if I had had this book, let's say 10 years ago when I was starting my company, and I could apply some of the lessons that I share with others, and really some of the humble stories of my life and some of the things that I've overcome with specific rules, rituals, and habits to put in place to become a person who has an elevated conscious and who's achieving his dreams at a much more accelerated level, then I would be much farther along. So this book is for anybody who wants to get unstuck. Some of us just get caught in our existence, and we're stuck. It sometimes might be us stuck in a blame game or stuck in a game of self-doubt and limitations. But this book is for people who are ready to not only read it because it's entertaining, but to apply its rules and to understand that by applying its rules, they're going to be a happier and more powerful person who's going to live life more abundantly.
Thank you. Where can we find this book and find your contacts in case we want to ask you more questions?
Yeah, so people can easily find me at jamesonamazon.com. That's JAMES on Amazon.com to find the book. They can go to my website, which is www.jamesnowlin, that's NOWLIN.com. And if they want to book me as a keynote speaker, they can go to speakerjames.com. So I travel all around the world talking on stages about purposeful living, productivity, positivity, and how that translates into profitability sometimes for corporations and organizations. And I do a lot of executive coaching and life coaching to people as well. And they can check out more information on jamesnowlin.com or at speakerjames.com. But first, they got to get the book. They got to apply just a couple rules to their lives. And then they got to witness that change taking place when they begin that process of elevating themselves and doing the work on themselves. And patience, the good thing is the journey becomes a lot more fun. We know exactly what we need to do to achieve that life of greatness.
Okay. So, clan, there will be more from James in a moment. If you are finding James' journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you are on Online Success Journey already, click on part 2 of James' journey and you'll get lots of great tips to help you with your own life and business to move ahead. And don't forget, you can also access all other Online Success Journey interview podcasts on the site as well. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and James.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com. filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.